Welcome back. This segment is sponsored by David Andersen and Associates. Now, when it comes to your finances, when is bankruptcy the best option? Here to talk more about that and some of the myths surrounding bankruptcy is attorney David Andersen. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so when do you know, what are the signs? When is bankruptcy the best option?
Well, there's a lot of causes of bankruptcy, like medical bills, job loss, divorce are some of the major ones. But you know you need to file bankruptcy when your income just isn't enough to make any progress at all, or you're subject to legal process such as garnishment, foreclosure, repossession, this type of thing. Bankruptcy can solve that. And bankruptcy is the only thing that can solve that.
So then, what are some of the mistakes that people make when trying to file for bankruptcy? And is bankruptcy something that you can file for on your own, or should you absolutely have a lawyer to help you?
You should have an attorney do it, because it's not a real simple process. Although an experienced bankruptcy lawyer or board certified lawyer like myself, it's not that complicated unless it's a large case. But typically people should file bankruptcy when they need to stop a foreclosure or garnishment. And some of the mistakes they make is they might take money out of their home equity. That's one of the bigger mistakes. So they'll get a second mortgage, or they'll refinance their first mortgage, get a bunch of cash out, when we could have protected that home equity. The other bigger mistake is if they borrow from their retirement savings.
Oh, sure. Seems like a great idea now, but then, you know,
well,
25, 30 years, you're like, oh!
They withdraw from their retirement and they blow their retirement savings to smithereens. We could have protected that in bankruptcy.
Okay, okay. And I know that there are two different types of bankruptcy, personal, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13.
Chapter 7 is the most popular. Chapter 13 is a payment plan, and it works very well for people that have regular income and some ability to pay. Now with Chapter 13 you can save your home from foreclosure, whereas Chapter 7 does not offer a payment plan to catch up on that. With Chapter 7 you can keep your house if you can keep paying on the house, especially if you're current on the house, you want to keep your house. Or if you can't afford the house, you can let the house go in a Chapter 7 and not owe anything on it. But with Chapter 13 you can consolidate taxes, unsecured debt, car loans, and reduce payments on those. And the payment is usually based on what you can afford rather than how much you owe.
How much you actually owe.
So you can have a large amount of unsecured debt and still pay a very small amount. I'm talking, you know, $150, $200 is where Chapter 13
so much more doable,
Sure. Chapter 7 is no payment required at all. Most debts are discharged. Not taxes usually, divorce support obligations, student loans.
Student loan, that's the other one that I was surprised.
Bankruptcy
you can't get rid of student
usually
loans.
doesn't help very much because the standard is very strict. If you have a medical condition, you're never going to be able to pay a student loan back. It's a very burdensome process to discharge student loans.
So then what happens afterward? Like say, you know, you've filed for chapter, let's go with 13, and you're doing all this payment plan. The big question is, what does it do to your credit? How long, I mean, if you
want to
buy a house, I mean, what does it do to your credit?
One of the myths of bankruptcy is I'll never be able to get something again. That's not true at all. In fact, foreclosure is probably worse on your credit than bankruptcy.
Oh, really?
What bankruptcy does is it cleans out the bad debt off your credit, so you don't have that debt anymore on your credit, and then you reestablish. Now, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you make good money, you pay your debts on time, you keep a steady job, you file your taxes, you pay utilities, rent, house payment, car payment, insurance. You don't let insurance lapse, you don't bounce checks. These are the things to rebuild your credit. You'll get credit cards after bankruptcy, you'll get car loans after bankruptcy, you can get home loans a year or 2 years after bankruptcy.
Really? Okay, because I think that's probably a lot of the times people are like, I have all this debt, and it's, you know, you're sinking down in debt, but then you're afraid to file for one of those. So that's a big myth that's been busted.
It's not that hard to reestablish credit after bankruptcy. In fact, it's easier to reestablish credit after bankruptcy than trying to carry debts with you for an indefinite period of time.
All right, some very good tips in there, some very good information. All right, so you can find more information on this and other topics online, WZZM13.com. You can also call David 616-784-1700 or online at usadebt.com. We put all this information on our website, WZZM13.com. Just click on that Take 5 homepage.